afternoon. I'm Tuleah Palmer. I'm the president and CEO of the Blandin Foundation. And I'm super excited to hang out with you, Asin, and learn all about you and your role with the Young Women's Foundation. I am originally from Ball Club, and I moved around a lot as a child and came home after I graduated high school. I went to BSU. So I'm really excited to hear about your experience at BSU and what you're doing there. I think I started working in Leech Lake at the Boys and Girls Club right out of college, and then I worked in Bemidji at the Northwest Indian Community Development Center, which is just across the street from BSU, and now I'm working in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. So I'm excited to hear all about you.
Anin, Asin Indigenous cause, magazine and Dude, Mrs. Aiganing and Dunjaba, Nyashinda. So I just redid my introduction for the video, but my name is Asin and I'm from Mille Lacs. And yeah, I'm excited to do this too. It's a great opportunity.
I'm curious about what year you are in college at BSU?
I'm a fourth year student at BSU.
Nice. And you're going to school for Indigenous Studies and language, right?
Yeah, Indigenous Studies with a minor in Ojibwe language, and I hope to get a certificate in instruction of Ojibwe.
That's awesome. And I was just thinking that the pandemic has taken a lot of our first language speakers from Leech Lake and communities, and how important it is for young people to be carrying that language. One of my most important people in my life always said that the language is the culture. And so it was really, when I saw your name on the Young Women's Council, it really felt good to me to know that young people are really committed to that work and are going to keep doing it. And I'm curious about what it was that inspired you to really focus in on the language and the teachings in your community, because I think that you had said you're going back home when you're done at BSU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was lucky enough to grow up traditionally and in the culture and stuff. And I've always loved our way of life, and it's the only way of life I've ever wanted to live and ever want to live. So I think I said this earlier, but like I just want to like be a Shinab in peace. I want to be an Anishinaabe in peace. And like by that I mean like I just want to like practice our ways and like speak our language and like just do all of that in peace. But I can't really do that in peace when we have to like worry about like how some people worry that we're losing it and stuff. I don't think we're really losing any of our culture or language, because I think it's all there. We just have to like reach out for it. But I do think that it's like it's a time right now where we need to like put extra effort into utilizing it so we don't lose it. And I think especially like because of like the pandemic and COVID, we definitely lost a lot of like elders and knowledge keepers. I lost one of my wet ass to COVID, and it was such a heartbreaking time because he was the one who gave me my name, and he was the drum keeper in Mille Lacs, and he just has so much knowledge and wisdom. And honestly, I beat myself up over every day because he invited me out to his place to like learn the language with him, and I like put it off because I was like, oh, I'm not ready for it yet. I'm not ready for it yet. And when he passed away, I was like, I did that to myself. I like chose to like not be ready, and now I missed out on the opportunity altogether. But that following spring, I was able to transcribe my grandma telling stories in Ojibwe. And I don't know, I feel like it was a way that my aunt did that for me. So he like could remind me that I have other elders there to help like show me the language and help me learn the language more. And I didn't like miss out on all the opportunities just because one elder passed away. There's a lot of knowledge lost, but there's still other opportunities out there.
Was there something specific that drew you to BSU?
It's in the middle of the 3 largest reservations in Minnesota, and I knew culture shock was gonna be a big thing because I grew up in Mille Lacs, so I was used to being surrounded by natives all the time, and I just knew that if I was anywhere that there wasn't, like, a bunch of natives, I would not be having a good time. So I went to Bemidji because it's surrounded by the 3 largest reses, so there's gonna be a lot of natives up in there, and they have a really good language program, and also the American Indian Resource Center. I think that's really nice to have, so you can, like, just go there and, like, chill indigenously.
Right. And Chrissy's there, right? You-
Yeah, I love Chrissy. She is the executive director at the American Indian Resource Center, and she is so helpful. And she always, anytime I need help, she's always able to help guide me. And she's just a very amazing person to have in your life.
Her and I were students at BSU together. And so that was really cool. We had children about the same age going to the same school and stuff. So it's nice to see that she's at BSU. Are there things like, what is something like when you went to BSU, what was the most surprising part of that experience?
Um, how easy college is altogether. I mean, it's not easy exactly, but in my head, I definitely hyped it up to be a lot more challenging than it really is. Because once you get out of your head and just like talk to people and ask for help and like, I don't know, just make yourself accessible to like your opportunities, it's not that difficult and it's not that hard. But like when you're like a first generation student, it seems like this a huge, scary like thing and it's very intimidating. So I was surprised that like once I finally got there and got into the groove of things, that it wasn't like as intimidating as I made it out to be.
Great, that's good. When you kind of like talk to people back home, what are the kind of things that you would tell younger people about your experience and like, what would you encourage them to consider doing?
I encourage everyone to go to school at least once, especially just to like live on campus, because I think it like helps you meet other people and also just like in general, it's a whole different experience compared to like living at home. And I think all of our like youth should try that out one time. And like if you don't like it, you can always go back home and it's okay. Or you can go elsewhere and it's okay. But I always like encourage you to like try school out one time and live on campus one time because it's a fun experience and I think it's well worth it. Even if you don't know what you're gonna study, like it doesn't even matter. You can like go there and take your liberals and figure it out.
What do you want to do when you go home?
I really hope to work with Native youth, like youth from Mille Lacs specifically. I want to I don't know yet. I don't know really what I want to do. I want to work with the language for sure. So I might end up like doing some kind of teacher situation, which wouldn't be too hard to get into because for Ojibwe, there's never enough teachers
Right.
to help teach the language. So I know I'll always have a job, but like I don't know if teaching is exactly my calling. I think I might like in something more fitting, like a cultural coordinator. But we'll see how it goes. Definitely want to work with youth because I don't know, you grow up hearing how youth are our future, and sometimes I don't think people really like put that forward. They just say it to say it because it's like, like a lot of people like to say it just because they think that'll like get people's attention and they don't like do anything else. But I really think our youth are our future and we need to put more like emphasis into that. And I just want to like emphasize like our youth at all times and do whatever I can to uplift them.
How did you get involved in the Young Women's Foundation or the Young Women's Initiative with the Women's Foundation?
uh One of my mentors, they sent me a post that the Young Women's Initiative was taking applications for like their cabinet situation. And they're like, you should just try it out. So I applied and I talked about decolonization and how Minnesota can do better for their Native people. And That's how I'm here now.
So this, what we're doing right now is called Share the Mic. And I'm thinking about how important it is to share the mic with young women, all young women, but especially for me, young Native women. And I'm wondering why you think it's important to share the mic with young Native women.
I don't feel like Native women get the mic enough. I really don't. I feel like we get left behind a lot, and it's unfortunate. But I think it's important to uplift Native people's voices, but specifically Native women's voices, because like Ojibwe people in particular, we very much like uphold our women, and our women are very much knowledge keepers, and they have a lot of good things to say. And I don't know, a lot of times natives have good answers for things, and we should let them speak. They might be able to help teach us a thing or two and help us learn.
Is that something you're driving down to Apollo in Arizona? I was like trying to think about where you were going. Where'd you say again?
Apache Gold in San Carlos.
And are you driving like with your bestie?
Yeah, she came down from Canada for this, so I'm so excited.
Nice. Are you two talking about like Native women's business on the way down there?
Yeah, definitely. We always talk about, I don't know, all kinds of things. And it's nice having a friend like her that understands where I'm coming from. So like when I really start getting into the nitty-gritty details, she can like add on to it. So it's not just me like preaching to the choir.
And I'm listening to you talk. It makes me really full of like good feelings that you're doing this kind of work and you're involved, because I know it's really hard to sit in rooms and like be the only person in the room and be like this, you're like breaking ceilings, right? You're doing things for the first time and there's not a lot of people to talk to, and it can be really lonely sometimes, you know, in that then you kind of self-trivialize, like, what am I doing, why am I here? And so I just know a lot of women, you know, my age are looking at women like you, really relieved that and happy and grateful that you're making decisions to continue to be involved in the work and be more vocal about it, even though it's uncomfortable or it can make a person kind of nervous, especially if you're a bashful person. And so it's so important to see young people, especially young women, getting involved in things that are like the Young Women's Cabinet and being really vocal, and that you're, you know, the chair of the Indian Student Center at BSU and bringing in other kids and making sure that the future is optimistic and bright for community. And so I just want to thank you for really making the decision to apply to be on the Young Women's Council. There are so many women behind you and behind and underneath and behind in front of us that like that voice is part of so many other voices that don't have the opportunity to speak. And sometimes people call getting into spaces like this imposter syndrome, but I've kind of come to learn that it's just really a different worldview. And so when you get nervous, you know, it's just sort of like we have all the ways in which we can center ourselves to stay strong and be grounded and keep going like in this path that you're on. And I feel really good about like the way in which you're inspiring other young women to lean into life in a good way and really speak up for things that need to be shared. Because you're totally right about young people, and that we need to be really thinking about our children. In this work, I'm super excited to see where you go in Onamia. That'll be awesome. I'll come visit you. Asin, thanks for spending time with me on a Friday afternoon while you are on your way to powwow with your bestie from up north. It was really nice to spend some time with you and end my week in a good way, listening to some good inspiration. When we share the mic next week, we're going to take some of this conversation and some of your work and share it on all the Blandin Foundation's social media links and all of our networks and remind people how important it is to support Indigenous young women.
Yeah. Thank you, Tuleah. I am so grateful to have had this conversation with you. And I don't, it's just amazing to see another Native woman in a position such as yours. And it like makes me feel a lot more comfortable with the trajectory of my own career. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't really see a lot of people like me in the situations that I'm in. So I'm like I know I have to do a lot of like ceiling breaking and all of that, but sometimes it's nice to know that I'm not alone.